Hey guys, Mr. Underhill here, and this is a quick little review of the Zpacks Plexamid. It is a one-person Dyneema tent that comes in right around a pound. Earlier this year, I completed a thru-hike of the Appalachian Trail, and this was my tent of choice, and I took it the entire way. So let me set it up, show you a little bit about it, and tell you what my experience was, and whether I would take it again on another thru-hike. The bag did not survive the trip very well. It's pretty much falling apart. It's just a stuffed sack from Zpacks. The tent is relatively quick to set up. It's about 10 stakes. I used groundhogs, and the first thing you do is stake out the four corners. That's it. Then I would usually tie out the part that, if my feet went to that end, I would have that part of the vestibule closed and lean my pack right up in here. It fits in there nicely. So, the main thing I like about this, of course, is the lightweight. The Dyneema. It's, you know, my last tent, it had a fly and it was nylon, and it would get saturated and it would just hold the water and not really be waterproof at a certain point. So you would have to like hang your fly to dry on certain days. This one, yeah, it got wet, but it's 100% waterproof, and I'll tell you that on a long distance hike, that especially on the Appalachian Trail where it's a lot of water, a lot of rain, I absolutely loved that fact. And with the vestibules completely closed, it was fairly dry in here. The other thing I really liked about it was just fully open on one side like this. There is a little bit of a hangover. The tent has this little square part here, and it creates an overhang of just a couple inches, but just enough that when it is raining, and if the rain is coming straight down, you don't get it inside your tent. I had plenty of times where I just had one side closed and I had the other side open, and it was raining and I was totally fine. There is a lot of condensation in the tent, but they come up with a very ingenious design here to allow the condensation to drain down the inside of the tent and out. I'll show you that in a second. There's plenty of room. I'm about 5'7". So for me, I just barely fit on my pad, in my bag, and keeping my bag off the walls. So anybody around the 5'10" plus range, I would probably go to the Duplex. I think that's the name of it. It's a much larger version of this. I would do that rather than this one. There were ways you could lift the ends. I would prop a stick under these guy wires on the outside at both ends. Just have a little stick propped up there, and it would lift this inside a lot higher. I did that a couple times when it was just really wet. But I love this zipper. Getting in and out of this tent was very nice. I really like that full zip. The quality of everything on this is very nice. So, the wind is blowing up. So inside the tent here, okay, so we've got these lines that they hold up the bathtub floor. And if you can see there, there's a nice little mesh, just like the front, very fine mesh. And the water will drain down here and drain out that mesh. But there's one problem with that too, is that when it's raining very hard, it tended to splash up through here. It wasn't that big of a deal. But, and the other problem with this, let's say you have this open all the way so the floor drops as far as it can. You can easily, if you throw gear in here, this can be, like you can see it right here. This part of the tent is over the bathtub floor. So if you had gear in here and this was set up improperly, more or less, you didn't have it pulled out nice and tight, water would drain right off the tent right into the bathtub floor. And I've seen that on a couple Zpacks. Zpacks does this, I believe, on at least their two-person models. And people complain they think their tent is leaking, but in reality is it's coming, your bathtub floor is sticking out further than your top. So one thing to keep in mind with this is you can set it up wrong or put your gear in here wrong, and water will drain from the roof right inside the tub floor of your tent. But I like this design a lot because at night when you're sitting here and you get a little bit of breeze, the breeze comes from all around, rather than just having the roof or something. It feels better to me to have the fresh air coming in right where my head is, right where I breathe. So I think that's a bonus. I like it. I only got water in the bathtub floor once, and it was my own fault the way I put my gear in there. I didn't take a look at it. I had one other issue with the tent, and I'll stick a video in here and I'll show you. It took a lot of wind, but this did pull loose partially, and I had to repair it. It wasn't a big deal, but it happened pretty early on. I also used Zpacks carbon fiber trekking poles. Oh, by the way, this does, obviously it only takes one, which was a bonus to me. I don't know why, but I just always thought that just in case I broke a trekking pole, I wasn't scrounging through the woods looking for a stick. Yeah, the single trekking pole, it really worked well for me. So I was very pleased with this tent. I'm so glad I got it. Like I said, the only damage was just this little spot here, and it really wasn't a big deal at all. And I used some, I think, carbon fiber thread and fixed that. So would I take it again on another through hike? Absolutely. This is definitely my go-to tent. I love it. It looks like it will survive a few more through hikes. There's no problem whatsoever with the quality and the durability of Dyneema. I brought a footprint with me. I used it a couple times in areas where there were very sharp rocks, and it made me nervous. But otherwise, there's no damage to the floor of the tent, and it was on just about every type of surface that you could throw at it. Also, I've set it up on platforms, and I could probably throw a little video in here of how to set this up on a platform. Just have to get a little creative, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. There were a few places in the Whites where you had to sleep on a platform. You couldn't pitch a tent anywhere else, and I was perfectly fine. I set it up, I think, 3 times on 3 different types of platforms, and each time it held up, only using a few rocks. So that is the Zpacks Plexamid, and it's a winner in my book. It's definitely my go-to tent right now, and I'm glad I purchased it. So I was actually able to set up my tent, just like running my line through there, through here, just like that. I had to use one rock to hold that one down, but these other ones were fit around nail heads. They're tight, and then around the front, and then I just had to use some rocks to hold the front. This is the Zpacks Plexamid, and yes, you can set it up on a wood platform. Usually the wood platforms have fairly good gaps, and so I think a lot of people will jam a stick in there or something, or try to latch it with a stick or a stake, but not on this one. So it's usually, you usually need a freestanding tent. Anyway, well, hey, thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions about the tent, or even through hiking in general, any questions about my through hike, let me know in the comments, and I can either answer you directly or see about making an actual video about that. I do plan to do a lot of the other equipment I brought along with me, and so hopefully I'll keep up the new content and help you make a choice for your through hiking equipment. And so anyway, thanks for watching.